and welcome to My Existential Crisis, the podcast where we talk about all the things that make us question our entire sense of self. My name is Madison Epley.
And my name is Dylan Berger.
How you doing, Dylan?
Oh, I'm excellent.
Yeah?
Never been better.
Yeah?
Yes.
What's up?
Well, I might have to take that back right away.
Okay.
In fact,
you accidentally lied.
last night I was having a big old sandwich. It was a traditional Italian sandwich, and this thing is maybe
what is a traditional Italian sandwich?
It is a sandwich made in the traditional Italian style.
Okay.
With salami.
All right.
What I believe to be bologna or ham.
That sounds Italian.
Lettuce, tomato, sweet peppers, provolone cheese, and mayo.
Could not be more Italian. Okay.
As the Italians are known to do.
Yes.
And I have TMD, as you know, tiny mouth disorder.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yes.
So I tried to take a big old bite out of the sandwich
no.
and fucked up my jaw.
Oh, no.
So bad. I heard a crack. I felt the tendon strain. I had a really hard time about it, and I was like, oh, this fucking kills. I had the rest of the sandwich, so I just took smaller bites.
Yeah.
But that has been the most eventful thing to happen to me.
Do you think you
recently.
sprained your jaw?
I sprained my jaw.
You sprained your jaw.
I twisted it.
Wow.
And I'm not going to go to a doctor because I don't want to be put in a mouth cast.
Yeah.
But that is...
They're just going to laugh at you. Like, your prescription is like... just gonna laugh at you.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah. Don't do it again.
Yeah, try to like eat smaller sandwiches. To which I would say, do you even know me?
It's like it's like when you know that the soup is too hot.
Yeah.
But you eat it anyway.
Oh,
and then you
always.
scald your tongue and you're like, damn it, I burnt my tongue, and then you just keep
You have
eating
to keep
it.
going.
Yeah, well at that point your mouth's numb.
Yeah.
So might as well, right?
How have you been?
I've been good. I told you about me trying to start running thing.
Yes. Cardio.
I overexerted myself.
Oh.
Yes. One time I ran for 4 minutes straight, which is a new record for me.
That's really good.
Is it?
Yeah.
But then I had to immediately stop because I almost passed out because I couldn't breathe. Yeah. And then
you had your inhaler on you, right?
I did. I
Okay.
always bring my inhaler
That's
for
important.
these purposes. I'm wheezing next to like this 50-year-old woman who's going hard on the treadmill. It's great.
Yeah. Passing out in the gym is even more embarrassing because if you land on the treadmill, it's going to shoot you off.
My gym teacher did that. Yes.
In front of the kids?
It was recorded. Yes.
He
showed it as to everybody. It was filmed in the gym, and he was running, and it was going pretty fast.
Yeah.
And he tripped and just like ran into a set of
Never seen again.
No.
How do you win
Hilarious.
back the respect of your students after that?
You win back the respect by showing them all the video. Because if you try to hide it, then you'll get really made fun of. But if you publicly share it, then what is there to hide? You embrace it. That's all you can do.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should definitely embrace something like that and actively broadcast it.
Yeah.
To people you're supposed to be teaching to be athletic.
Yeah.
So you had a hard time after 4 minutes. You took a break.
I stopped.
You stopped completely.
I stopped completely because I could
Forever?
not. Maybe. I haven't gone back since. We'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, David got a motorcycle. Yes.
Exciting.
It is at his parents' house until the weather warms up, and then he'll bring it here.
Nice. Gonna do some tricks off of ramps, or like what's the
No, he better not.
plan?
His plan is to ride it to and from work and to ride it wherever he pleases.
So badass.
Yeah.
Except to get groceries, unless.
No, he's planning on getting groceries.
Oh.
With this bike. He already has.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Interesting. How it has large, a significant amount of storage space.
It came with like a little trunk thing that you could put on the back of it.
Oh, okay.
So you could go on a picnic with it, technically.
Yeah.
Or get groceries.
Wonderful. Well, best of luck to. You're gonna hit 5 minutes. I'm sure you will.
I don't know if I want to hit 5 minutes still. It really sucks. I'm not a runner. Oh, I had this will just show you how not graceful I am.
Yes.
I had a callback for a musical that I auditioned for. The dancing part was not hard. I haven't memorized because it was that not hard.
Yes.
I still couldn't do it. And in the process of not being able to do it, whenever we had to do a single turn, not fast, just
turning in a direction.
Just turn, like you know how like if you're a dancer and you like turn on one foot.
Yes.
But like you don't have to go fast. You can just like spin. Just like take your time with it.
A small pivot.
Exactly. I pivoted grandly into a lighting rig.
Oh no!
That was next to me. So yeah, didn't get that part, but that's okay.
Oh man.
Yeah.
No glowing reviews necessarily.
Yeah.
I imagine that was. I mean, you recovered from it quickly, I'm sure.
I stayed in the back, so nobody hopefully saw, but they did hear the commotion of me.
The lighting guy is like, "What the fuck?
What are you doing?" Yeah. That's embarrassing. Pretty embarrassing.
Wow. I love that we can share our most embarrassing things on this show.
That's what we're here for.
Straining our tiny mouths to eat sandwiches.
Straining your throat because you couldn't breathe and breaking a lighting rig.
Wow. All right, folks.
That's it for today.
You heard it here worst. Oh, man.
Who did we decide was going first? I don't remember. I'm sorry.
We did a rock, paper, scissors competition. My preternatural ability.
Your what?
My preternatural ability.
Preternatural
ability.
What is that? Preternational?
It's like a supernatural, except preternatural.
Predator. I'm not trying to be dumb, I promise. Wait, what?
I think it's just a synonym for supernatural or like otherworldly.
Preternatural.
Yes.
That's hard to say. Preternatural.
I find it actually quite easy to say.
Yeah.
Preternatural.
Yeah.
Ability.
Preternatural ability.
Hebrew national ability.
Hebrew.
To win at rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
I could be maybe a world champion, but
they take it very seriously over in Japan.
I saw a video of it.
Yeah.
Have you seen that same video?
I think so.
The woman is just like, she throws down a rock and wins, and it's like her life has changed.
Yeah, yeah.
On the spot.
Yeah, I've seen that. I think just last week, actually. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, today we're gonna have some fun topics and some
really sad ones.
Some really sad ones.
Guys, I promise I'm gonna take a break with the sad stuff after this because this is rough. I feel it's weighing on my psyche. I'm really sorry. That's all I've got to say.
All the all the child death and abuse is
it's really
it's what you came here for, folks.
Yeah, right? That's what you wanted. Right?
I'm going to be exploring something a little bit more whimsical today.
Whimsically.
Yes. Have you ever wanted to disassociate from your body?
Literally, always.
But in a fun way?
Always.
Have you ever felt the cosmic pull to explore the outer reaches of the astral plane?
I don't even know what the astral plane is.
Have you ever looked into the night sky and thought, why can't I be there?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Well, if you answer yes to any of these questions,
I did too.
You're in luck.
Yay.
Because today I'm going to be talking about the magic and mystery of astral projection and a few of the recorded entities that allegedly live on the astral plane.
Oh.
Now, astral projection isn't just a 9th level Dungeons & Dragons spell.
Is it?
It is. It's a real phenomenon with long history. So, Madison, how much do you know about astral projection?
I know little to none. The only stuff that I know comes from the podcast, and that's why we drink. And they talk about it so casually. It's like everybody should know just what it is. And
are they able to astral project?
The one says, Christine says that she is trying and she's practicing.
Mm.
I don't know what that means, but she says that she has tried to visit her friend. I don't know what that means either. That's all I know.
Yeah, I mean, when you're too busy and you don't have time to just drive to meet your friend, just disconnect your soul from your body.
Oh, is it kind of like whenever you have like you can see like the ghost like floating over your body?
Exactly right.
Except it's just like Okay.
It is a more, I guess, spiritualistic term for out-of-body experiences.
Okay.
So astral projection is used to describe an intentional out-of-body experience. Your consciousness functions separately from your physical form, and it operates within an astral body or a body of light, which then travels apart from your frail mortal shell. You're essentially going ghost. And this phenomenon is by no means new. It's an ancient concept that comes from many cultures. The ancient Egyptians, Hindus, and several indigenous peoples all report the same phenomenon, and that's just naming a few. Some scholars suggest Paul's second epistle to the Corinthians, which you know, of course,
yes,
is a reference to astral planes, that reference being, quote unquote, I know a man in Christ who 14 years ago was caught up to the third heaven. Whether it was in the body or out of the body, I do not know.
You know, I don't recall that Bible verse. That's maybe why I'm no longer in that school. Yeah.
They tested you on the Paul's second epistle to the Corinthians?
Yes.
You're like, oh, fuck, I forgot to study.
Yeah, basically. Well, they focus more on the being gay is bad thing than astral projection. Yeah.
I guess they have their
that
own
was also,
priorities.
I think, in Second Corinthians, because I got real sassy with the teacher. That's the only reason I know that.
So Paul just snuck in a lesson about astral projection between
yes.
speaking poorly about homosexual people.
Yes.
Hey,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess they got to stay on brand. But it's clear that the concept of astral projection is by no means a trendy New Age idea. It has a long history in many cultures across the world, all with similar themes.
Okay.
Spiritual exploration, cosmic clarity, and even the acquisition of hidden knowledge.
Okay.
The self separates from the body and goes on adventures, not all of them fun. We'll get into that a little later, but for now, here's a quick history of astral projection in the U.S.
Okay.
In the 19th century, the spiritualist movement gained traction in the States. This was a time of seances, mediums, and con artists.
Mm-hmm.
That said, some mediums claimed they experienced astral projection during trances.
Okay.
In the early 20th century, the Theosophical Society explored metaphysical concepts.
That's a lot of words.
Sure is.
That is Theosophical Society, metaphysical concepts.
Yes.
Wow.
Theosophy being teaching about God and the world based on
Yes.
mystical insight.
Yes.
Which I didn't know.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I gotta go back to
judging
church,
you.
I guess.
It's fine. It's gonna go to hell, Dylan.
So these concepts included astral travel and the existence of, quote, subtle bodies, which is just another term for the astral form.
Okay.
So subtle
That's like
bodies.
a ghostly.
Yeah.
Okay. Form.
It's, I guess people, and I want to round back to this, but ghosts, people don't necessarily compare them to ghosts because you're still attached to your living form.
Yeah. It's just like, that's just the idea that I get.
Yes.
Whenever I think about it, like I see like a white spirit like leaving your body and going somewhere else.
More or less.
But like it's still attached.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
It's still attached. It is like a spectral body that you inhabit outside of your own.
Uh-huh. It's like if you're a ghost except you're still alive and you can just like project yourself.
Exactly.
So astral projection.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Exactly right.
Cool.
So later in the 20th century, Robert Monroe brought attention to astral projection through his book titled Journeys Out of the Body, which released in 1971. The book detailed his own experiences with OBEs, or out-of-body experiences. In the late 20th century, the New Age movement swept the U.S., sparking a greater interest in spiritual practices like astral projection, which leads into today, where the subject of astral projection exists in a strange place. We've mostly agreed that it isn't a collective delusion, and researchers are interested.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's fascinating.
Yeah. So OBEs envelop the fields of cognitive science, neuroscience, and psychology. There are a lot of different explanations for the phenomenon that we can't verify, but I'll go through a few of them.
Okay.
Neuroscientists suggest that irregular I'll never be a scientist. Neuroscientists suggest that irregular electrical activity in the temporal lobe could contribute to the occurrence of OBEs.
I'm not judging you, but I am judging you because I thought that was going to be a much more difficult word than
that electrical?
Yes.
No, it was just as easy as that.
That's staying in. I'm not cutting that.
I hope so. So the temporal lobes are associated with perception, memories, and emotion. And the idea is irregular currents in this region of the brain can lead to an altered perception of body position and spatial awareness.
Huh.
Or it can be attributed to something called sensory motor disintegration. The brain essentially depends on a combination of sensory input and motor signals to create a sense of the body's position in space, and a disruption in that process could lead to the feeling of being separated from the body. But I feel like that doesn't tell the whole story necessarily. Psychologists speculate that astral projection is a form of disassociation. There's a disruption in the integration of consciousness, self-awareness, and perception due to things like stress, trauma, or altered states of consciousness.
That's
like
fascinating.
Meditation.
Like I wonder if I guess maybe they have because you're bringing this up, but that's like, it's fascinating to me. Dissociative identity disorder, as it's now called, which is like split personality disorder. That, like what you just said, and I wonder if anyone's have studied all of those different things and seeing if they can try to figure out a connection between them.
Yeah, between dissociative disorder and OBEs.
Yeah, and like astral, like all of those, literally everything you just said. But has anyone actually studied that? Or just they think there's a connection?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's like the broader use of the idea of disassociating.
Okay.
And how maybe disassociating, I'm going to fuck up so many words. I have a really hard word coming up too, which I'm nervous about. But maybe disassociation as applied to a specific psychological condition is different from the idea of larger dissociation. Or maybe not. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's been studied.
But still, that's interesting. I would like to know.
Yeah, because where do those other personalities exist when not?
That's the thing. Like whenever you said it's like split in like the prefrontal cortex, like, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Of like, I mean, even people who don't have DID but have like other, like when you just block out certain chunks of your life, or you block out, like you just black out sometime and just like go into a frenzied state of whatever. Yeah. I don't know.
And I wonder if somebody with DID chose to astral project and what personality their subtle form would take.
That is fascinating. That is a really good question.
Yeah, what personality would inhabit that form, I wonder?
I don't know. I would want to say like whatever is like speaking the loudest, quote unquote. As in like whatever maybe has like the most emotional attachment or like the most innate natural response. I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm not sure either. It's an interesting question, certainly. There's also something called proprioception.
You did it.
And proprioception is the sense that allows you to perceive the position of your body.
Okay.
A disruption in proprioceptive signals, in fact, the disruption of those signals can cause a distorted perception of your own location.
Okay.
Again, it feels a little lacking.
Yeah.
Here's another theory, and I kind of am most invested in this theory specifically. It's a sleep-related explanation.
Okay.
So as you know, sleep paralysis is a very real and serious thing.
Yes.
I don't know if you've experienced sleep paralysis.
I have not. But that would be. I have very vivid dreams and very vivid nightmares. So if I did have sleep paralysis, I'd be fucked. It's so bad. Have you?
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine. I've heard just horror stories about it.
Yeah, it's certainly terrifying, and interestingly enough, it's a state that is intentionally induced to spur on astral projection.
Really?
Yes, because people who tend to have commonly have like sleep paralysis often are reportedly able to more easily astral project, because in a state of astral projection, or in a state rather of sleep paralysis,
you need to have that disassociative, like your body.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like that one.
Pretty cool.
I like that one.
So during a period of sleep paralysis, your brain can generate vivid hallucinations, including the sensation of floating above your body, which leads into lucid dreaming. And the question of whether OBEs are just lucid dreams, which I don't personally believe, but it makes sense. So you may be thinking, do you just hover above your body and that's it?
You're right. I am thinking that. How does this work, Dylan?
Thank you for asking. So not in the slightest. There are hundreds of wild and crazy stories from the astral plane. Going back to Monroe, he described exploring different realms and meeting entities. Sylvan Mundoon, another pioneer.
Is that a name?
It sure is.
Sylvan Mundoon.
Sylvan Mundoon. Another.
Sorry.
It's a hell of a name.
It's a name.
Sylvan is a pretty good name.
I like that name. So it's a strong name.
It is.
Sylvan.
I've seen a picture of him. He looks like kind of a dweeb, but it's a strong name.
I mean, I feel like with Sylvan Mondoon, you'd be kind of dweeby with it.
Yeah.
Mondoon.
You can't be a jock and pioneer the OBE field
like
you can't. Sylvan did.
No. Unfortunately.
He also described visiting far off places and meeting entities.
Okay. Oh. All right.
So we start to notice a few like common through lines in all these different stories. And the consistency in these stories across so many, if we're going to be fair, anecdotes, is strange and worth a little bit more of closer examination.
Yeah, for sure.
So what did they and others describe? Travelers describe the astral plane as being filled with vibrant colors and energy.
Okay.
Colors appear more vivid than in our world, and the energy is often described as living. It isn't just colors, however. Some travelers have reported landscapes that resemble the Earth but have otherworldly qualities. Some describe impossible cities of enormous scale, sweeping landscapes, and transcendental realms.
Damn.
Of these realms, some people associate them with different vibrational frequencies, states of consciousness, and dimensions.
Okay.
Some people have even claimed seeing dreamers going about their dreams, unaware of the larger astral environment.
Ew. I don't like that. Ew.
Sylvan peeping in.
Oh my gosh.
People's dreams.
That's terrifying. Like, the dreams that I dream, oh my gosh, it's so scary. If that's actually happening on another plane.
Yeah. And astral projection apparently allows you to peep into dreams.
Oh, that's terrible.
Become a dream peeper, if you will.
A peeping Sylvan. A peeping Sylvan.
Yeah, exactly right.
A peeping Sylvan. I don't like that.
No,
that's
I don't
really
like it
cool,
either.
but I don't like it at all.
I think we all hold dreams as being something that's so intimate and personal.
It is.
Completely divorced from every other person.
Yeah.
But the idea that
someone like peeping in.
Yeah.
Or what are they going to think about me? I'm not a horrible person, but I dream some really bad stuff.
What are you dreaming exactly?
It's bad.
Like, what's the worst?
The worst, it's very vivid. I can remember it. I told all my friends about it because I was like, this fucked me up. I was not okay for a few days.
Yeah.
It was like I was in a real life horror movie, and like it started off in this old attic, and it's kind of like when a movie starts and just like it's just showing the credits, but it's just like panning over random things just like for you to get the landscape, and it's doing that in this attic, and I'm looking at all these gross tools and all like just getting a feel of what the area is, and I hear screaming in the background, and I turn over and it's this man on a slab, but he's being like cut like inch by inch by this person with a welding mask on, and he's just like screaming and bleeding out. It was really graphic and gruesome, and there was more to it, but like it was so graphic and it was so vivid.
Oh my god,
it was bad. Sorry.
What do you think that means?
I don't know. I'm terrified to know. And I didn't even watch any scary movies that night. It was just a random night. Yeah. And I woke up just like, this is fucked. This is so bad.
Sheesh.
Because I was like there. It was awful.
That was the worst dream you've had?
I would say, yeah. It was like the most vivid. Like I was the one doing those things. It was
pretty terrifying.
It was pretty bad. I mean, at least I wasn't the guy on the table.
Yeah.
There was that.
You were just spectating.
I was just spectating, but it still wasn't fun.
Yeah, I can't imagine it was.
Yeah, no, there's a lot more to it, but that was like the most catching of them all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some nightmares as well that I remember very clearly.
Yeah, like what?
I remember I had a nightmare that I was sitting in my living room downstairs in my childhood home at night.
Okay.
and I was watching a TV show on witches.
Okay.
And I was sitting there watching this TV show, and I knew preternaturally, possibly, that the next scene on the TV show was going to terrify me, but I couldn't look away. So I kept watching the show, and then it cut to this woman who had just terrible burns all over her face, like she was like melted.
The fuck?
And that was fucking awful.
Yeah.
And then I woke up.
Wow.
Yeah. Terrible.
How young were you when that happened?
I think it was like 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're a big
How
boy.
old were you when you had this dream?
It was literally like a year and a half ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was rough.
Have you dived into like what could be a potential explanation behind that?
Yeah, no. I'd like to forget that if I could. Although it made just the way that it was shot, you could say it would make a really, really good movie. Yeah, it would make the cinematography.
So
my brain.
Nightmare was terrifying. Cinematography, yes. Impressive.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay.
Fantastic.
All right.
Yeah.
And I guess now you can just like move forward in your life knowing that there are a lot of dreams that just won't scare you.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because that one was so terrifying.
Basically, yes.
So, as I mentioned earlier, there are entities in the astral plane. And before I get into what's been formally recorded, as much as I can say formally, I found this delightful story on the Astral Projection subreddit from somebody named Cholito Burrito.
Cholito Burrito.
And Cholito Burrito said this: "Since my first successful projection, my cat has been with me in the astral. So obviously I wanted to prove if it was really him. So I devised a method to do so. I set up a box in my room where treats were hidden. My cat showed zero interest in the box. I waited 3-ish days and AP'd again," which I guess is
Astral projected.
"When I saw my lovely kitty in the astral, I showed him the box. I spent a bit of time exploring my house in the astral and then returned to my body. The first thing my cat did when he woke up was to go find the box, therefore proving that it was him in the astral."
Oh my
Yeah, pretty cool, huh? I AP'd again later that night. That's a hidden knowledge we're talking about.
Yeah.
And my cat was with me. He told me telepathically, because that's how communication works in the astral, that he was my guide. He's been very clingy and extra cuddly with me in the physical realm since then, and I've enjoyed having him around even more.
Wait, a guide for just life? Or the astral plane?
Yeah. I guess how some wizards and witches have familiars.
I want a familiar. I have 2 black cats.
Yeah, those are your familiars.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I love them so much.
I don't know how many familiars you can have.
I will have as many as I damn well please do.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Absolutely. Don't let me stop you. So that's a pretty delightful story.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my gosh. That's my favorite thing. Sorry.
No, yeah. What's less delightful, however,
is
a pack of shadow children darting in and out of your vision.
Oh, fuck that.
Which is what one traveler described in a trip to their childhood home in England. Oh,
shit.
Yeah. Inverted Pencil on Reddit said, "For some reason, I never see humans. I seen various types of aliens and mostly birds and my dead cat."
Okay.
Yeah, so, across the board, the experiences are pretty diverse. One of the most interesting and thorough accounts was from a Reddit user named Learn Stock Be Informed.
Learn Stop Be Informed.
Learn Stock Be Informed.
Oh.
Which, I don't know if they're using astral projection to peep.
I don't know.
To dream peep. But
speaking of peeping Sylvan.
You got a peeping Mundoon over here. But here are a few of their encounters. Gargoyle creatures.
Oh.
These are some of the most interesting beings I've encountered because I've no real idea what they were or what they wanted. Small gargoyle-type beings, almost like winged monkeys. Black-like shadows, but still with discernible features. They crouched all around my bed, sat on my partner's chest as he slept, sat on my body as I slept too, and I watched them from my astral body. They became confused when they noticed my soul was not inside of my body as it should be. They didn't seem particularly negative, more mischievous than anything.
I hate that so much. What if that's what poltergeists look like? And now they could see it. I don't know.
There is maybe something to be said about poltergeists living sort of in a separate but parallel plane to our own that can only be accessed through the astral.
Wow.
Ghosts as well.
Damn. Okay.
I like theories about astral projection because, one, there's a lot of at least anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
And two, it lines up really well with a lot of other theories.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like it explains ghosts perfectly.
Yes, it explains ghosts. I mean, one could say that, like, perhaps that is the afterlife. Maybe that if you're seeing a dead cat and you're seeing all these other things and the rainbow colors and different energy, that would make sense to me.
Certainly. Absolutely.
Wow.
There's also the goat man.
The goat man?
The goat man.
The goat man.
Yeah. Here's
sorry. I'm so sorry.
The goat man. This is their account of the goat man. So I've learned more about this being than any other so far. We formed a connection after a chance encounter. Who's this goat man?
I know, right?
What's his name? The first time I saw him, I was scared, and he, as all of them seemed to be, fed on my fear and energy.
Ew.
But I was fascinated by him.
Oh.
Something about this goat man.
He likes bad boys. Likes bad goats. Bad goats. Sorry. That's bad. That's so good. Bad.
But I was fascinated by him. I'd call out to him every time I entered the astral, kind of desperate.
Yeah.
After that, he chose to keep me safe from the shadow entities, capitalized, protected me, and banished them on multiple occasions. I've had many, many conversations with him. He told me he can take any form he chooses, but appears to me as the goat man because that is how I recognize him.
You could have been anything. Could have been anything.
Oh, God. No, I want to be a goat man.
Yeah, right?
Oh, man. His true form is pure light, which he has demonstrated, and it was the warmest, purest thing I've experienced and hard to explain. I've asked why he's there for me, and he replied he is there to help, but also admitted he is there for my energy. So it's kind of like a, not the healthiest relationship, I would say. I asked what the meaning of life is, and he replied it is to experience. I asked what happens after death, and he told me safety. He also informed me that everyone in the universe is connected, but that some connections are stronger than others. He has also appeared to me in lucid dreams, and for me it is a, quote, safer place to meet than the astral. I asked why we have a connection, and he replied that I'm safer with him than with lower beings. For a while, I believed him to be my spirit guide, but on reflection, I realized it's not true. He is simply a being not unlike ourselves, neither entirely good nor bad. And we formed a connection, I guess a sort of friendship. I hope to learn more about him.
Huh.
So you see the goat man.
Yeah.
He might not be scary as you think.
No.
He does want your energy. So there's that. But
I mean, he's a big ball of light. You might need some of, maybe it runs out.
Yeah.
Like
you got to charge.
Yeah.
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
So, this next part is about how to astral project.
Ooh.
So if you're interested in
cool.
astral projection, you might have the opportunity to as soon as tonight.
Wow. Okay.
Fortunately, there's a page on WikiHow that goes into it.
Really?
Yes.
Is that where your source is from?
Yeah. The steps are as follows.
Okay. I'm ready.
Step 1, learn about astral projection.
Check.
Yeah, we're already on the right track.
We're already there.
Step 2, start in the early morning when you're more drowsy and relaxed.
Okay.
Step 3, create the right atmosphere.
Light some candles.
Yeah, for Goat Man.
Lavender.
It's better to be alone and comfortable.
Oh.
Step 4, lie down and relax. Close your eyes, clear your mind. This is now astral projection ASMR. Concentrate on your body and how it feels. Make sure every muscle is relaxed. Breathe deeply. Exhale completely.
Oh.
Focus on relaxing. It can be helpful to place a...
Oh no, what?
It can be helpful to place a quartz crystal on your third eye.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. if you have trouble locating your third eye, it's like right above
I figured.
your two eyes in the middle.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Step 5, reach a hypnotic state. Let your body and mind approach sleep, but don't sleep. It's only at the edge of wakefulness and sleep you have to be edging. But that's a different WikiHow page. So you can allegedly reach a hypnotic state by letting your mind wander to a part of your body, your hand, your foot, or a single humble toe.
Okay.
Focus on that body part until you can visualize it perfectly. Use your mind to flex that body part, but only in your mind. Broaden your focus to the rest of your body until you can move your legs, arms, and head using only your mind, not physically.
Okay.
So
you're not imagining that you're moving them, but you're like connected with them.
Yeah, it's like
you're not doing it in real life.
Right.
It's not like you're just imagining it, but like you are thinking in that dulled, like sleep-ish state, like meditative state.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess it's like trying to like peel your soul's form from your physical form by manipulating your soul through your thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Right? No further explanation needed.
Yeah. So you can see how like sleep paralysis can help with this.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
So step 6, then you'll start to enter a state of vibration.
Ooh.
Don't be afraid of these vibrations. People describe them as coming in waves at different frequencies. So step 7, use your mind to move your soul from your body. Obviously.
That's just that step.
Yeah, why don't we just start with that step?
Yeah. No breaking it down, just do it.
So you're supposed to imagine the room in which your body is lying, then move your body and your mind to stand up. Look around yourself, get off the bed, and walk around the room. Then turn back and look at your body.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Step 8, bada bing, bada boom, fly out of the room. And that is how you astral project.
Okay.
Oh my God. This is wild to me.
I love how they start off simple, like, wiggle your big toe,
Yeah.
wiggle an arm. Then it just fucking leap out of the sky.
Yeah.
Just get up.
This is WikiHow.
Enough is enough.
Madison, do you think astral projection is a real phenomenon?
I don't know. I think I like it as an explanation for a lot of things that we come to question. Like I mentioned, whether it is like mental health related or whether it is ghostly related or anything like that. Even like the idea of like dreaming is fucking wild to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what I believe. I would like to believe that that could be possible.
Do you think that you'll ever try to practice at all? Or?
I think if I tried to practice, I would just fall asleep. But I could see myself trying. I don't see it going very successfully, but I could see myself trying.
I tried last night. Actually.
You did?
I did.
Yeah, how'd it go?
I laid down.
Yeah.
And you know how like if you lay in one position and like you're trying to like fall asleep, your body will create phantom sensations to check if you're sleeping.
Yes.
So I was working my way through that phase, and I could feel myself getting more and more relaxed, and maybe even a slight vibration.
Okay.
But then I got really thirsty, and I had to take a drink of water.
You couldn't just take a drink in the astral realm?
No, not that I don't know if glasses of water can also astral project. Oh. I'm not sure. Yeah, before we conclude this section, there's just one last thing.
Okay.
There's a consistent description of a silver cord of energy tying the astral body back to the physical body.
Okay.
Almost like an umbilical cord, you could say. Oh. And what's interesting is that some travelers describe meeting deceased people. Would it be so far off to think that death is like being born into the astral plane?
See, I don't think so. That makes complete sense to me. That makes that's, again, it answers so many of my questions. I want it to be true so badly.
Yeah, essentially your silver cord is snipped and you can no longer return to your earthly form.
Oh my gosh, I both love and hate that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that could be true.
Wow. I mean, even whenever you talked about the light and like the that it's like a living energy. I feel like people who have near-death experiences express that a lot of the times as well. Either they see a light or they feel this warmth and this peace or something like that. They feel safe. It's fascinating.
It is. It's very interesting.
What do you think, Dylan?
I think it's true. I think it's real. 100%. You hear all these stories about out-of-body experiences
for sure.
In like near-death experiences or like in a hospital room and people floating above their bodies.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
And being able to recall who was there and what they were doing and what they looked like without being conscious.
Yeah.
So I think that alone is pretty good evidence.
Yeah.
And
sick.
the fact that so many people seem to be able to do this suggests that there's probably it's probably credible.
And not that we can trust everything that scientists and the government do, considering the CIA projects, but if they are studying it and like they have like some reason, didn't you say that they were like researching?
Yes, remote viewing.
Yes.
Remote viewing could be a form of astral projection.
Yeah.
Could be.
Okay.
The ability to project your body, your astral body, like to a far off place.
Yeah.
People have described seeing the planet they're so far away.
That's
or going to their childhood home in England.
Wow.
You know?
Okay.
Very interesting.
I love that.
Yeah. Sources are Wikipedia, Reddit, Quora, and WikiHow.
Love that. Those are all valid sources, no matter what anybody says. I swear.
100%.
I'll fight somebody. That was probably my favorite so far.
Thank you.
I love that. Thank you so much, Dylan.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's amazing. Are you ready to be sad?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Got the tissues here.
Yeah. Again, I promise this will be the last, not the last bad one because I can't make that promise, but I'll probably just do a lighthearted one next time because this is pretty rough. So my sources are The Guardian, Wikipedia, Very Well Mind, Britannica, All It's Interesting, Medium, and some YouTube videos that I watched.
Gotcha.
Which I'll link because they're pretty fascinating.
Excellent.
So it was Wednesday, November 4th, 1970, and it was like any other day for the people who worked in the LA County Welfare Office until their next case walked through the door.
Mm-hmm.
There, the social workers saw a disheveled young girl and a woman with a walking stick in hand coming through the door. At first, they thought the little girl, who they estimated to be like 6 or 7, was homeless due to the disarray that she was in, but they soon learned that this was not the case. She looked severely malnourished. She had a strange, unfocused, fleeting gaze. She could not seem to speak and walked in this strange, what has been described as a bunny hop. Like she could not walk.
She walked in a bunny hop.
Basically, yes. Like she had to like edge herself forward. She couldn't actually move quite right.
Oh, interesting.
So the woman who had walked in with the little girl had actually walked into the wrong room. She intended to go to the disabilities office because she's blind, which is why she walked into the wrong room. And this office was right next door to the social services office.
Oh, I see.
So the little girl's appearance...
I shouldn't say, oh, I see. That's offensive. I take it back.
No, you don't see.
Oh, I understand.
Neither does she. So the little girl's appearance and behavior drew more attention, and the social workers quickly tried to analyze the situation because she was acting strange. Like maybe they thought she had autism, or is she physically injured? Is that why she's walking this way? Never would they have guessed that this little girl who walked in was the victim of one of the worst child abuse cases in U.S. history.
Leave it to you to tell us about one of the worst child abuse cases in U.S. history.
It's awful. So the social worker pressed to learn more about the little girl. She didn't have to press too hard, actually, who she could clearly see was in a bad situation. And this woman named Irene told the social worker that her daughter was not 6 or 7, as they thought, but she was 13 years old.
Oh, malnutrition, I'm assuming?
Among other things. The woman immediately contacted the police. This is a social worker.
Yeah.
And they were able to get the small, unkempt child into custody. Her parents were arrested and she became a ward of the state. However, due to her poor physical condition, she was sent directly to the Children's Hospital in LA. So who was this child? Who was the woman? What happened to her? Chances are, if you've taken a psychology class where you cover human development in some kind, you might have heard this story. That's where I had first heard it. It's usually discussed after talking about Henry Harlow's cloth monkey experiment. Do you know that one?
Yes.
Where, if you don't know it, it's where there's a wire monkey and a cloth monkey, and the baby monkey always prefers the monkey with the cloth on it because they prefer like the touch and the warmth and the comfort of that soft material.
Yes.
It helps to prove both like physical touch and childhood development and things like that.
I'd say no baby monkeys were harmed in the creation of that experiment, but
I'm
that's
sure
not true.
Many were harmed.
Yes.
So to this day, this story I'm about to tell you has proved an unfortunate truth in the power of neglect in children and how vital human connection and comfort are to children. It also has a profound impact on the nature versus nurture debate. And this is the story of Genie Wiley. So to start off, I'm going to give you some background on her parents. Not much because at least her father is trash. But Clark was born as Pearl Wiley in 1901.
Pearl.
Clark?
Yes,
he later changed his name to Clark, but he was first named Pearl.
Was Pearl a boy's name?
It was not, and he did get made fun of a lot for it, and he would hold resentment for his mother because of that decision, which he and his mother had a very complicated relationship. His father was killed by a lightning strike. His mother allegedly ran a brothel. Yes, he harbored extreme resentment because of his feminine name. When he was 6, he witnessed his grandmother's death after she was hit by an out-of-control pickup truck. He then went to live with his father, who he blamed for his grandmother's death. Don't know why.
He was driving the truck.
Yeah, might have actually. I don't know. When Clark reached adulthood, he changed his name to be more masculine, and his mother began to spend more time with him. We don't know too much about Dorothy Irene Wiley, except that she prefers to go by Irene, from what I've read, except that she sustained a severe head injury when she was younger in an accident, which gave her lingering neurological damage that caused degenerative vision loss. Oh. So she was blind between that and like cataracts. She could not see from a very young age.
Not sure.
So although Clark and Irene, they initially seemed happy whenever you looked at them as an outside couple, soon after they married, he prevented her from leaving the home at all and beat her with increasing severity and frequency. Again, Irene's eyesight steadily deteriorated, and so she couldn't really see. She was fully reliant on Clark, so there was very little that she could do to try to get away.
What a night.
And Clark hated kids, and he wanted none of them, finding them too noisy. However, 5 years into their marriage, Irene did become pregnant. He beat her throughout the pregnancy, and near the end, he attempted to strangle her to death.
Jesus.
She was in the hospital recovering from this strangulation when she gave birth to an apparently healthy daughter. Her father, Clark, found the crying from his new daughter disturbing, so he placed her in the garage where she caught pneumonia and died at the age of 10 weeks.
Oh.
Yes.
Here I thought that the baby was Genie.
No, we've got 3 more to go.
Oh.
Their second child, born approximately a year later, was a boy diagnosed with Rh incompatibility. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically whenever the fetus inside of a mother, her antibodies attack the blood cells in the babies because they're not quite compatible or something. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but that's basically it. Like the blood is not compatible.
I see.
So this can cause complications, and he died at 2 days of age. And we don't know if this was because of Rh complications. Some reports say that he died from choking on his own mucus or other suspicious circumstances, ... Clark.
Yeah, maybe he made the mistake of crying as a baby.
Exactly. So 3 years later, they had another son named John, who doctors described as healthy despite also having this Rh incompatibility. But he was healthy, and his father forced his wife, Irene, to keep him quiet, causing significant physical and linguistic developmental delays. So John, he did survive, but could not talk, was not allowed to speak. Not great.
Gotcha.
When John reached the age of 4, Clark's mother actually grew concerned, the one who ran the brothel, allegedly. And so she's like, hey, I'm going to take John and I'm going to try to help his development. So she did this for several months. And then whenever he was progressing and doing better, she's like, okay, go back to your parents now. Cool. Yeah. And so now we get into Genie's birth. When Genie was born, she also showed signs of this RH incompatibility, and she needed a blood transfusion. Beyond that, she was perfectly healthy. A medical appointment at 3 months showed that she was gaining weight normally, but he did find a congenital hip dislocation, which required her to wear this like restrictive splint from ages 4.5 to 11 months.
A hip dislocation.
Yes,
in a
but
child?
But it's congenital.
Oh,
so she was born with this.
Gotcha.
It's just basically like the ball socket is not quite aligned in with the ball and the joint and the socket don't quite go together.
Gotcha.
So she just had to wear a splint. It's kind of like scoliosis when your back's all fucked up, but you just have to like align it and then things kind of fall into place. That's what they had to do.
I see.
But because she was in this splint for so long, it caused her to be a little late to walk because she was restricted and she had a little bit of atrophy in her muscles.
Right.
But her father thought that this was her signs of her having an intellectual disability. So as a result, he refused to talk to her or pay attention to her and strongly discouraged her mother and brother from doing so as well. And there was little information about the early years in this time, but we do have some medical records, and they indicate that she displayed relatively normal development. Her mother recalled that she wasn't a cuddly baby. She didn't babble much. She resisted solid food, but this is like normal for some kids. That's nothing that's abnormal. There are babies who just aren't cuddly, and that's fine. At times, her mother, Irene, said that Genie would say individual words. We don't know when this was. Irene couldn't remember what these words were, but then other times she said that Genie never spoke. So we don't really know which is true or not. Researchers couldn't determine this. But at the age of 11 months, Genie was still in good overall health, but had fallen to the 11th percentile for weight, which is pretty low. We now believe that this was a sign that she started to suffer some degree of malnutrition and abuse, which is not a surprise, but it's really upsetting. And at 14 months old, a pediatrician said that because she's sick, we don't know for sure, we can't determine it, but she might have an intellectual disability, or there might have been something from the blood transfusion early on that might have delayed some developmental things in her.
Yeah. And
this, again, we can't prove this, but her father said, okay, well, this just like solidifies what I thought. She is quote unquote damaged, is what he thought.
He's kind of and I don't know if this is crazy to say, kind of a bad father.
That's crossing the line, Dylan.
Yeah, no, I think that maybe shouldn't have had kids at all.
Yeah.
Maybe after, you leave your baby in the garage.
Yeah.
And they die.
Yeah.
It might take a little bit more reassessing and maybe a conversation with your partner about where you want your future to go.
Yeah.
That's just me. I don't know.
It's a very level-headed way to think about it, Dylan.
Yeah, I
appreciate
try.
It. Yeah. Well, Clark was not so level-headed.
Okay.
And it gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
So, naturally. So when Genie was 20 months old, Clark's mother died in a hit-and-run accident. And her death affected Clark way beyond normal forms of grief. John, his son, was with his grandmother whenever she was hit. So now Clark blames his son for the death of his mother. And Irene described him at this time as a paranoid, violent psychopath. And then it only got even worse when the driver only received a probationary sentence for manslaughter and drunk driving. So Genie's father became delusional with rage, it was said. He took his family, they moved away. He shut them up in a house and basically nobody could leave. Whether that was his idea of protecting them from an unjust world, we don't know, but that's what he did. And they just essentially became hermits.
Where does this take place again?
That's Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
California. Still, as an infant, Genie, no more than 20 months old, Clark increasingly confined her to a bedroom in the back of the house while the rest of the family slept in the living room. During the day, for approximately 13 hours or more, he tied her naked to a child's potty chair or in a makeshift straitjacket that Irene made. And if she was on the potty chair, she was naked. But if she was in a straitjacket, she only wore a diaper and could only slightly move her extremities. At night, she was placed in this crib with like a metal screen cover to keep her arms and legs immobilized so she wouldn't move. And he would also tie her to this potty chair overnight.
Oh my fucking God.
Yeah,
you weren't kidding when
I
you said this was
kidding.
The worst example.
Really bad. It's really bad.
Child abuse in U.S. history. Yeah.
I apologize, everyone. This is really bad. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay.
So you essentially kept her in a bird cage, more or less.
Yeah.
Overnight.
Yes.
And otherwise,
it's like keeping her in a bird cage, but then like tying her wings down so she can't move them or can move them very little.
And the straitjacket was made by her mother.
Yes. It was said that Clark forced Irene to make this. Irene claims that she was never a willing participant in any of the abuse, which she was also a victim of abuse herself. However, I don't know the ins and outs of it. She was blind. Like, there's little she could do, I'm sure, to like find help, but I don't know. I have a hard time just like writing her mother off as an innocent victim.
Yeah.
So when the family first moved into this isolated house, Clark sometimes allowed Genie to be outside in a small playpen.
Oh, that's good of her.
But she would anger him by breaking it down to get out, which people later, he probably left her outside for a very, very long time on her own.
Mm-hmm.
So he just didn't let her outside at all and then just kept her completely confined to her bedroom. If Genie vocalized or made any other kind of noise, Clark would beat her with a large plank that he kept in her room. And later, whenever Genie did learn to speak, somewhat, she was quoted as saying, "Father hit arm, big wood, Genie cry, not spit, father hit face, spit, father hit big stick, father is angry, father hit Genie big stick, father take piece wood hit, cry, father make me cry." To keep her quiet, he bared his teeth and growled like a dog at her and grew his fingernails out just to scratch her.
Who the fuck is this guy?
A monster. A monster. Monster.
Yeah, I've heard very few other examples of people this
awful,
animalistic,
garbage, trash piece of human being. I'm sorry. I am so heated about this case because, like, you'll see later on, but I feel like, although this is horrendous, I feel like we could have done so much to help her.
I mean, yeah, when you're a family of any size, you have an orbit. There are people who live around you, people who can do something.
Neighbors said that they didn't even know they had another child besides John.
I don't know if that's true.
The thing, like, I don't know. Now, they did move, like, after the mother died and, like, in a more remote area, but still, I mean, it was not that remote. I saw images of the neighbors. I don't know.
If you leave your kid outside, the neighbors can probably see them.
Yes, right? Okay.
And it's hard to just like keep a child's entire presence a secret from your neighbors for an extended amount of time.
But like, even if you are she is still a child. She's still gonna cry. Even if you beat her, she's still going to cry and make noise.
Mm-hmm.
It's so fucked. So he would then just start to beat her if he thought that she continued behavior that he didn't like. And researchers later found that this instilled an intense fear of cats and dogs. They didn't know why, but it's because of her father. And because of this, she learned to make as little sound as possible and to otherwise give no outward expression. Clark fed her as little as possible, refused to give her solid food, feeding her only baby food, like a pureed cereal, maybe a soft-boiled egg, and liquids. He, or if he forced John, would spoon food into her mouth as quickly as possible, and if she choked or could not swallow fast enough, the person feeding her would rub the food in her face. Again, allegedly, there's pretty good proof about this, but it's awful. These were normally the only times that Clark allowed Irene to be with Genie, although because of Irene's blindness, she couldn't actually feed Genie herself.
Okay. But she could make a straitjacket.
She could. You know what? That's a very good point. She could make a straitjacket, but she couldn't feed her daughter.
So, who alleged that she made the straitjacket? Is that something that she said?
Irene alleged that Clark made her.
So, okay.
Yes.
A straitjacket isn't a simple thing.
No. Well, it can be. Like if you
yeah.
Like if you get like a long sleeve shirt and
you just tie the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it wouldn't have to be too complicated, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it's awful. Irene claimed that her husband always fed Genie 3 times a day, but she also said that Genie would be beaten if she made noise when she was hungry. So we think that he would restrict food if she was making noise as punishment. And Irene is not an accurate historian, to say the least. She said that whenever possible, at around 11 o'clock at night, she would try to give Genie additional food, which caused her to develop an abnormal sleep pattern. So then when researchers took her into their care, she did still wake up every night from 11, and it took a long time for her to get out of that and sleep through the night fully.
Yeah.
Again, Clark had a very low tolerance for any kind of noise, not even allowing a working television or radio in the house. And he almost never allowed his son and wife to talk, and he would viciously beat them if they talked. So if they did speak, it would be very quiet and whispered.
Yeah.
So Genie never got to hear any communication at all. Nothing that was like really helpful to her development. The room that she was left in was extremely dark. The only available stimuli were the crib, the child's toilet, curtains on each of the windows, 3 plastic pieces of furniture, and 2 plastic raincoats hanging on the door. I make mention of this because she later on she liked plastic things. Sometimes she was allowed to play with plastic containers, and she really liked this whenever she was with researchers.
Her toys were Tupperware?
Yes. If she got that. So the room was basically all blacked out. Sometimes she could see a little bit of sky. She could hear some birds chirping or like neighbors, kids.
Yeah.
At this time, still nobody could really leave. John could go to school and come back, but Clark would like make him prove his identity whenever he came back. I don't know how you make a kid in the 70s who goes to school prove their identity.
Yeah, show your driver's license.
Yeah, right?
Uh-huh.
So to discourage disobedience, Clark frequently sat in the living room with a shotgun in his lap. He didn't let anybody else in or near the house, turned all the outside lights on at night to discourage anybody, and he always kept his gun close just in case. Allegedly, nobody in the neighborhood knew about this abuse that Clark carried out on his family. And like I said, they said that they don't know that he has any other child besides John.
And this is all because his mom named him Pearl. I guess.
That's what researchers honestly think. Like,
really?
Genuine. That was one of the, like, it's like a snowball effect, obviously, but the resentment of his mom making him angry. He has angry issues. He saw people die close in his life. He saw his mom blaming his It just Pearl? I think he's just an awful person.
Yeah, Pearl's actually quite a pretty name.
I like the name Pearl.
Yeah.
It could be
if you're 90.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually quite charming.
Okay, so Irene was passive by nature, and at this time she was pretty much completely blind. So she could see a little bit beforehand. She could, absolutely. She, at one point, did escape. Clark did not allow Irene or John to seek help or, like, really talk to her family. She was very isolated in that way, like typical abuse stuff. But she was able to go out and get help from her parents later on. This was whenever Genie was 12 and a half years old. And Clark was actually convinced that Genie was going to die by the age of 12.
I'm surprised she didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. So now we get to her rescue.
Oh.
Genie was rescued at the social services office, like I had mentioned.
Yeah.
But she stood at 4'6" and weighed only 59 pounds. She was incontinent, she salivated and spat. She had nearly 2 complete sets of teeth, which we don't know if that was, like, sometimes people are just born with 2 full sets of teeth, but we also don't know if that is just...
Wait, she had 2 full sets of teeth?
Yeah. So
what do you mean?
Like front and back. Like a full set of teeth, like you regularly have, and then like another one in the back.
Another one behind it.
So we don't know if some people are just born with this, but we don't know if this is just because she hadn't lost any of her baby teeth because she wasn't being taken care of.
Oh,
and she's malnourished.
I didn't even know that could happen.
We don't know. It kind of gets better, kind of. Not much. I'm sorry. She could barely chew or swallow, and she could not fully focus her eyes or extend her limbs the full way. Her muscles were extremely atrophied, making it difficult for her to walk or function in day-to-day activities. And she seemed to initially only be able to recognize her name and the word sorry. Her parents were arrested and charged with child abuse. The charges against Eileen were dismissed in 1975 after her attorney argued that she too was a victim of her husband's abuse and had never been willfully cruel to Genie. Mm. Yeah, that's what I said. Unfortunately, Clark, the coward that he is, died by suicide shortly before he was scheduled to appear in court, and all that his note read was, "The world will never understand." Yeah.
I mean, I guess he's right.
He's right. We will never understand. Never.
But a fitting way to go after him.
Yeah. So Genie is actually an alias given by the doctors to protect her identity. And one of the doctors, Susan Curtis, said, "The case name is Genie. This is not the person's real name, but when we think about what a genie is a creature that comes out of a bottle or whatever he emerges into this human society way past childhood." And that's kind of what Genie did. It's a weird way of naming her, but that's what Susan Curtis did.
This doctor's a freaking nerd.
I know, right? So doctors, researchers, and other experts from the U.S. petitioned to examine and treat Genie. Essentially, these doctors raised her from 1970 to 1975. But because of the ethics around creating a real-life experiment like this, Genie's case was extremely rare. It was like a rare opportunity, if you want to call it that, to study the possibilities of learning linguistic and more about childhood development. So physician James Kent was the main doctor responsible for her care. They did confirm that she had normal vision in both eyes, but she couldn't focus on anything more than 10 feet away. The restraining harness had caused a thick callus and heavy bruising on her, and it took several weeks for those to heal. A series of x-rays found that she had moderate deformities in both hips, an undersized rib cage, and a bone age that was like that of an 11-year-old. And she was 13 and a half at this time. Her fine motor skills were significantly better, determining that they were about the level of a 2-year-old. And to her surprise, the doctors were shocked at how curious she was. Like, she's not just this vegetative state of a person that you might see if, like, you're comatose or something, who's atrophied. Like, she wants to know. She's insatiable for knowledge.
Yeah, she's still a kid.
Yes, she's curious. Like, the doctor said that she was most curious about noises that she heard and where they were coming from, and she wanted to know the name of every single thing. She believed everything had a name and wanted to know the name of all of it.
Do you think that she was distraught when she got the news that her dad died?
So we do know that she had a hard time grasping the idea of, like, death and passing. I think that she did eventually, but she would be afraid that her dad was coming back. So she would say something like, "Miss Daddy" or "Want Daddy." Obviously, I don't think that she misses him, but just like, where is he?
Yeah.
And so they would have to remind her, like, Daddy is dead. Daddy's not going to come back. Daddy is gone. And they'd have to tell her that. So that's what I've got for you on that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. She was also very, very interested in objects, more so than people. And she showed a lot of interest in staff members, but she didn't really distinguish between different people and didn't really have any kind of attachment to anybody, even her mother and brother, which, I mean, makes sense. And at first she wouldn't allow anybody to touch her. But she started to actually, like, go up and give people hugs, which was like the sweetest thing. Like, that, I almost cried when I read that. When she was upset, she would attack herself. And while she was doing this, the doctors noted that she would remain completely expressionless, never cried or vocalized, which I'm sure is her way of coping in the situation that she was in. To make noise, she would push chairs or do other things, but just never from herself. So the Professor Jay Shirley thought that she was not autistic because he cited that she had a high level of emotional disturbance, but her eagerness for new stimuli and lack of behavioral defense mechanisms were very unlike autistic behaviors.
Okay.
And a lot of the other doctors agreed with this conclusion. There is still debate about her intellectual capacity and what it was. especially because of that pediatrician early on, we don't know her full story.
Mm-hmm.
Genie could now speak a few words like blue, orange, mother, and go. And she still used this bunny hop. And the doctors had even called her the most profoundly damaged child they had ever seen. And because she was so quiet, it was really hard to assess her intelligence. So she scored about the level of a 1-year-old in these first couple weeks of being rescued. But progress was super promising. Genie quickly learned to play and chew because she couldn't even chew before. She would just salivate until the food broke up in her mouth and then try to swallow it. She could dress herself. She then enjoyed music. She liked to have the sounds. And then she started to very, very quickly surpass intelligence tests for what they thought. So she, within 6 months, she went from the 1-year-old intelligence to a 4.5-year-old, which is incredible.
I remember when I got to the 4.5-year-old intelligence. That was last year, actually.
I was going to say last year, I bet.
Had a big celebration, went out to Chili's.
What did you get at Chili's?
The bloomin' onion.
Bloomin' onion?
Yep, bloomin' onion.
You know, I hear that, but I don't actually know what that is.
It's essentially...
it's like an onion dip?
It's like, I think it's a very dressed up onion that might be fried.
Like an onion ring? But a whole onion?
I think it's a collection of different pieces of the onion.
Okay.
Arranged in such a way that it looks like perhaps a flower.
Oh, it's fancy.
I've never had one before.
Oh, fancy.
If I'm going to be completely honest.
Okay.
I've only heard tell.
Okay.
This is beside the point.
I'm trying to think about a transition back into this, and I don't know how to do it.
Oh, look, here's a boy.
Okay, so whenever they're trying to figure out how much language that she might learn, her brain had missed this critical role in development, they found. She could, she knew words, she could hold pictures, and she could draw pictures, and she could communicate much better with sign language and with drawings than she could speaking.
Mm-hmm.
But her brain seemed to miss the ones that are responsible for grammar. They just weren't being used, so they just stopped working. She could piece together, like I had quoted from her earlier, I think 4 or 5 words at a time was the most she could do, but she could never comprehend actual grammar, which was a little bit of a disappointment, but she could still communicate nonetheless. So she began to play with adults, and she seemed to be getting better. She was learning these basic skills. And then one of the researchers, David Ringler, said, I think everybody who came into contact with her was attracted to her. She had a quality of somehow connecting with people, which developed more and more, but was present really from the start. She had a way of reaching out without saying anything, but just somehow by the look in her eyes, and people wanted to do things for her or be with her.
Aww.
Yeah. So she enjoyed going out on day trips, exploring the new environment, and she just had this intense curiosity that everyone noticed. The best way I can describe it from what I read was like an infant experiencing life for the first time. You know, when you see like a baby, like, and they experience like bubbles, and they're like, what is this? Like that, but being able to have more expressions and words to put to that, which is like really sweet and really sad at the same time. So what we learn from Genie is that there is a part in your brain where, like, once you don't learn language, it kind of, you can't really grasp it if you don't have that early on.
Yeah.
To form sentences. But also, Genie's case isn't simple because she was horrifically abused, and we don't know her entire medical history, obviously. So this could just be a Genie thing. It could be more. And then there's the ethics surrounding studying Genie, obviously. Is it ethical to study and research her for development? If you're studying and researching her and that's first, then you're not really caring for her. Her care is second.
I think that her development was probably dependent on having medical staff around her.
I agree.
So if the research was secondary and not primary, then I think it's probably ethical.
See, that's what I would say. And I, like... if you watch the videos of Genie, like, just out of that hellhole that she was in, and then, like, working with these researchers and doctors who she lived with, they fostered her. She worked with them all the time. Like, she, like, lit up. She looked so happy and, like, content.
Yeah.
And now what I'm about to tell you is really, really sad.
Oh.
I apologize. does not get better.
Oh. It got better there for a second. I was hopeful.
This does not have a happy ending, unfortunately. So, in 1975, when Genie was 18 years old, the grant research had been revoked, and Genie moved back in with her mother. Her mother regained custody.
What?
Yes. Her mother petitioned for people to stop studying her daughter, so there was no more contact allowed from therapists and doctors. And despite regaining custody, Irene quickly realized that she was not able to care for Genie, so Genie then went into the foster care system. This led to more abuse and neglect, and Genie quickly regressed, afraid to open her mouth, and she would only speak through sign language. As a result, there is now limited information available about her current well-being and whereabouts, especially since the deaths of her mother and brother. The California Department of Social Services also declared that any information related to Genie is confidential and cannot be made public, which I can understand that to a degree. On her 27th and 28th birthdays, psychiatrist Jay Shirley, the one from earlier who said that she was not autistic in his opinion, said that Genie was largely silent, depressed, and chronically institutionalized. In 2000, a private investigator said to have found Genie, and he reported her as being happy living in an adult care facility, but this contrasts greatly with other reports that we have. The few that we have. Mm-hmm. Genie's birth mother, Irene, actually sued the Child's Hospital of LA and the research team, charging them with excessive testing. And the lawsuit was eventually settled, but it raised important questions about the treatment and care of Genie and if the research actually interfered with her therapeutic treatment. And as of now, 2024, there is no record of where she is, but if she is still alive, she would be 66 years old today. And people have tried to reach out. We think that she's an adult care facility in Los Angeles, but we cannot get confirmation if she is or is not alive.
Whew.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that is the story of Genie Wiley.
That's a hell of a story.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about that? What are your thoughts about them researching her and using it's because it's also talked about in psychology as the what do they call it, the unattainable experiment, or the forbidden experiment, because it's a quote unquote perfect way to test something without actually having to commit these unethical things yourself by scientific people. You know how there's certain regulations with
yeah. I think that it was probably necessary to have medical professionals there for her upbringing, because there's no other kind of way around taking care of what she was suffering from.
No.
Like I said, research, if it was secondary and not primary, that's probably ethical. But at the same time, she was no doubt making attachments to the people that were researching her. And then at the end of it, she has to never see them again.
Yeah, so that's what makes me the most upset about everything. I understand the ethical implications, but she was getting better. Yeah. She was getting better, and she was doing so well in such a short amount of time. And yes, she was bonded with those people that researched her. She was. And then she had to move back into the house with her mother that she was tortured in, essentially. Mm-hmm. And then she got sent up to foster care. I understand and appreciate, from some respect, any parent or any person trying to protect a vulnerable individual from being exploited by researchers or doctors or whatever. I don't think this was the right decision in this case, because taking her away from those people who loved her, and she, I'm sure, began to love and was actually growing with, taking her away from that stability is just... Yeah. It proved to be detrimental in the end.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people will look at that kind of thing as being purely clinical, but I imagine a lot of the people who were involved in her life cared about her quite a lot.
It was. There's videos. That's one of the videos I'll tag in, but there's, I think it's Susan Curtis. It's either Susan Curtis or the other doctor that I had mentioned. But when they were fostering Genie, you can see them working with her, and not just working with her to teach her, but playing and doing fun things that a child should be able to do that she never got. They genuinely cared for her. And I was watching an interview with one of the doctors who was fostering her, and she said, I just went from being with her every day to never seeing her again, not being allowed to contact her, or not being allowed to even know where she is.
Right.
Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It kind of leaves you with an empty feeling, huh?
Yeah, I'm sorry,
No.
everybody. But like,
I mean, the show's called My Existential Crisis.
Yeah, it's a terrible story, but like, and I feel so passionate about it. I'm so sorry. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry. You apologize. I don't know what to do.
Spend the last few minutes of the episode
really
just apologizing.
Really
hey guys, we're
guys.
sorry.
I'm really sorry.
Yeah, we hope this didn't fuck you up too much.
Yeah, but it's an important conversation to have. And
is.
I don't know. It makes me so sad because I'm so upset about how much promise there was and how much they just let it fall apart.
Yeah.
And I say they, and it's like not like her mother is her mother, and I understand like the government had some perspective for revoking the grant, but I also can understand that from a certain degree. I don't know. Well, that's the story of Genie Wiley, and again, I'm going to apologize for last time.
Well, thank you for sharing those.
Sorry for knocking the wind out of everybody who just listened, including myself.
I think it's an important story to talk about.
Yeah.
And we can only hope that the research that was done yielded something that can be used to help children.
Exactly. It's like at the very, very least, like what they were talking about could potentially help other people who are being abused,
right.
and other children who are going through similar things. Maybe they can help them and know more about their situation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's where I'm at. So thank you for listening. I'm sorry for majorly bumming everybody out. Dylan had a fantastic story. So
you also had a fantastic story. I think today's episode is one of the best yet.
It's solid. It's a solid episode. But it's also very depressing. So sorry again. But you can follow us on My Existential Crisis. Nope. You can follow us at ME Crisis Pod on. I'm butchering this. Instagram and Facebook.
Hell yeah.
Or you can send us an email at myexistentialcrisispodcast@gmail.com. I have to close my eyes when I do it, or else I get distracted.
Right.
I don't know
You have to enter your mind palace.
I do.
Retrieve the information.
Yeah. So that's it, guys. I'm gonna apologize one more time. I'm so sorry.
And hey, tonight give Astral Projection a try.
Give that a go.
See if you can Astral Project with your cat or your dog or
bring a buddy.
Yes. Bring a pal.
That's amazing. Okay, yes, do that.
Yeah. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Yeah, let us know how it goes if you end up doing it. That'd be freaking awesome.
And don't peep on people's dreams, all right?
Don't be a
dream peeper.
No. Ew, dream peeper. Okay, bye.
Bye.